Hi, this is Mark Werweth. I'm trying to basically go through some methodologies and some practices that will help make your car last for a long time. A lot of people may not be aware of what it takes to maintain your vehicle, and how to basically keep it running for maybe 200,000 miles, maybe far, far longer than that. Let's start with what you know and what you should know, right? Do you know your car's maintenance schedule? What are the common failure points for your car? What kind of oil does your car need? What kind of viscosity? Zero W20 is very popular these days. Full synthetic is commonly needed. What kind of transmission do you have? CVT or automatic? When was the last time your fluids were changed? If you can't remember, more than likely it's been more than a year. Do it now. Mark it on your calendar with the mileage so that you know in the future when you should be changing your oil, when you should be changing your other fluids. Does your car have a timing belt or a timing chain? There's a big difference between those two. Timing belts need to be replaced very precisely, either at 60 or 90,000 miles, depending on the make and model of your car. You should look it up. Timing chains, on the other hand, require far less maintenance. You can probably wait until they start to show some symptoms. And for example, do you know where to take your car for maintenance? We'll try to cover most of these items throughout the discussion tonight. First of all, gasoline engines are complicated. There's 700 moving parts, many sensors, belts, and filters, many parts that need to be lubricated with fresh fluids on a regular basis. Um, if your car does not care how much money you have in the bank, it will fail from neglect one way or the other, whether you take care of it or not. If you don't take care of it, and if it fails, your cost will be much, much higher. 62% of all engine failures are due to neglected oil changes, 25% are due to coolant neglect, and 90% of all transmission failures are due to fluid neglect. So, neglecting your engine or transmission is more than likely the root cause of your engine and car and transmission failure, and possibly the vast majority of the others in the field today. Simple steps you can follow. If you follow this recipe, your car should last a long time. First of all, listen and pay attention to your car. Rattles, squeaks, scraping noises, shaking, hesitation, revving. When does it occur? How often? Bring it to a mechanic, a qualified mechanic, and try to replicate those issues for them and see if they can help you solve them, right? Dashboard warning lights are there for a reason. Pay very close attention to them. A flashing check engine light is usually very serious, in which case check your manual, but you probably need to pull over and stop running your car. Running your car with a flashing check engine light could be causing more damage than you can possibly know, right? Do regular maintenance on time. Do not delay. 5,000-mile oil changes. That's what I recommend for people. If you are in a harsh, harsh environment, maybe 3 or 4,000 makes sense, but don't go beyond five. Use quality gasoline every time, not just once in a while, every time. Chevron, Amoco, Ultimate, Shell, Exxon, and Costco. Believe it or not, Costco is a quality gasoline. It's usually very, very fresh, and they're very good at filtering. So Costco is a good choice, right? Replace tires, bulbs, and battery when they're worn or after 5 to 6 years. Yes, tires can wear out, just not from mileage necessarily, but from time. It's called dry rot. You should check for dry rot. You should check the date code. And if you don't know how to do it, take it to a tire place. They can tell you if and when you need new tires, right? Brakes are essential, right? This is something you should be checking periodically, maybe at least once a year. Change the pads and the rotors together. It's no longer the case that rotors are thick enough to be basically cut. You don't cut rotors anymore. Change them both at the same time when you're less than 5%. Replace other worn items, belts and sensors when advised by your mechanic. The regular maintenance that you need to think about. Engine oil, good quality synthetic oil and filter with proper viscosity every 5,000 miles or 6 months. Wiper blades, washer fluids every 6 months. Transmission fluid, 60,000 miles for automatic, 30,000 miles for CVT. Don't neglect this. This will lead to failure. CVTs are very sensitive to this, right? Engine air and cabin air filters every year or so. Brake fluid every 2 to 3 years. Differential or gearbox oil every 30,000 miles. Coolant every 5 years or 90,000 miles. Timing belt, again, 60,000 or 90,000 miles, depending on what your manual recommends and requires. When you do the timing belt, by the way, there's a whole series of things, including a water pump, tensioners, springs that need to be done. So it's the whole package. If you do just the belt and nothing else, it will likely fail. So get a proper mechanic, pay the extra money, do it right. Timing chains last much longer. You don't have to worry about this. So the next time you buy a car, I recommend if you don't want to replace the belt, get a car with the timing chain. PCV valves every 60,000, fuel filters every 60,000. Here's a recipe for failure, right? If you stretch your oil changes from 5,000 maybe to 7 or 8,000, never change your transmission fluid or coolant, ignore your brake system noises, believe the claims that the dealer has told you that you have lifetime fluids that you don't need to worry about. Guess what? There is no such thing as a lifetime fluid. There is no such thing as any fluid that is lifetime. If the lifetime is 100,000 miles, I'm sure that's not what you're shooting for. That's what the dealer, that's what the manufacturer is claiming. So um, my advice to you is if you want to keep your car more than 100,000 miles, change the fluids, even the ones they say are lifetime, because they're not, right? They might even tell you they're sealed. They might even tell you it can't be done. Take it to an independent mechanic to find out if it can or cannot be done. There's usually a fill plug and a drain plug and a check plug, even for the most sealed transmissions out there, right? If you use cheap gas or cheap fluids, you will pay the price. You might save a few nickels. I know it sounds contradictory, but you will pay a bigger price later for having the wrong fluid, or you haven't changed it often enough, right? Untrained mechanics working on your car often don't know what they're doing. If you overfill or underfill a fluid, especially transmission or engine oil, you can have some real problems. So make sure they know what they're doing. They are trained, they are certified. And in the best case, of course, they are insured in case something goes wrong. Their insurance should cover it, right? Independent mechanics are usually a good choice if they are certified, ASE certified. This is 2026. You don't get anything for free. A good independent mechanic can charge anywhere from 150 to maybe $200 an hour. So be prepared. Budget. These are not things that should be surprises. Put it on your calendar. Put it in your budget. So what are we talking about here? Transmission fluid on the left, engine oil on the right. You can see the difference between old and new. And, frankly, this is meant to get the point across that there's no such thing as, lifetime fluids. They deteriorate, they get dirty, they break down, they get contaminated. I didn't even show what brake fluid looks like. Brake fluid accumulates water. That water will rust out your system. So, replace these fluids on a regular basis. This is half, if not more than half the battle. If you don't, this is sludge. This is your enemy. This is what could happen. So beware. And if you get sludge, or if your engine is known historically to be sludge vulnerable, either trade in your car or maintain it to the ultimate extent you can with the absolute best oil and filter on a regular, frequent basis. So where should you take your car, right? The dealership is a good start. However, people are afraid they overcharge. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. My experience is that they would rather you buy a new car than to keep your car running forever. So their job is not to keep your car in perfect shape. Their job is to sell you as much as they possibly can, things that you may or may not need, right? They sometimes lie to you if they say that this is a lifetime fluid. That is a lie. It's either a lie or it's a distortion, right? Lifetime, if it depends on the definition of lifetime. But anytime you hear lifetime, just walk away. There's no such thing, right? Chain stores like Firestone. I've had good experience with Firestone. I think they're very reputable. They're not the cheapest place in town, and that's a good thing. However, be careful. They often do try to upsell you, or they'll ignore things that they shouldn't ignore, right? Um, if you do independent mechanics, make sure they're ASE certified, check their reviews. Um, they will let you sometimes use your own parts. If you have a source of parts that might be cheaper than theirs, then you can save some money, right? Quick lube stores. Well, I'd say be careful. They might be okay for oil changes if they know what they're doing, but they're not necessarily mechanics. They're not ASE certified. So, um, use them as a last resort. Costco and Sam's is really, they're only good for tires and possibly battery replacement. So maybe every 5 years you go there, but recognize they too are not mechanics. And if something goes wrong, they're not the best people who can fix it. They can't necessarily fix, for example, a problem that they've inserted into your wheel because of mismounting or misbalancing. So they can't balance your tires, they can't balance your wheels. So just beware. Just be aware that that's not necessarily the best place to go. And with that, I want to thank you for your time today. Hopefully, this has helped you maintain your vehicle and keep it running for 200,000 miles or more.